Check out how we built these double-aught battery cables for the power and ground, for the alternator, chassis, and body grounds, and starter cables. This is something you'd like to see. Stick around, like, subscribe, check it out, see how they're built. Hey guys, back on the 88 K5 Blazer. We are finishing up the engine firewall, engine bay side of things. All of our vintage AC, all of our remote switch fans, and all of our chassis wire and our Holley EFI harness has all been mocked up, wrapped, loomed, and then wrapped, and then now it's all final installation. So now we are running through, making all of our ground connections, and we are making all of our positive connections to our relays, our fuse box, our breakers, and then we are also building our double-aught alternator and starter battery power cables. We are running a Power Master, I think it's a 170 or 175 amp alternator that increases with RPM, so we're going to run heavy double-aught battery cable, power and grounds, along with a double-aught starter. So I went through off camera, ran a little trace wire, got all my pre-measurements. So we'll be making positive and negatives. I'll show you all the lugs, show you the crimp tool that I use, and then heat shrink. We'll get them all made, and then we'll get them installed, and then we will leave the battery connections off, because then we'll go through and start testing circuits. All right, so now we're at the catch-all wiring table. I got a tape measure laid out. I got a squeeze clamp holding one end, and then we're roughly 80 inches to the edge. So for the red wires for the alternator, we got to do 80 inches, the starter wire 70 inches, and then to go from the battery to the dual 175 breaker, we got 12 inches. I don't know if anybody's bought double-aught cable recently. Shit's getting expensive. So I got a third clamp to hold this at 0, because it's like a monster. So our first one is at 80, so basically the length of the table. And these measurements are to the end of the cables, not to the end of the terminals. So we'll have roughly an extra 1.5 inches of each. So if anybody wants the part number, 04630, starter cable max 50 volts, SAE J1127, pretty heavy duty. We'll get you for a little size comparison. So the brushless fan is 850 watts, and it has a 100 amp fuse, and they send you with this 6 gauge. This ain't even 6 gauge. Yeah, this is 6 gauge. Pretty small. So this is double-aught. And then typically what we run for accessories is 4 gauge. This has sheathing on it. So 4 is even a ton bigger than 6. So this is our service wire for our key fob relays that are all mounted underneath the dash for our remote start function, power windows, door locks and all that with the Dakota Digital 6 to 12 channel key fob that we're putting in. Excited about that. Truck should be able to do remote start, power windows and all that jazz, and then the terminal lugs from 6 gauge to double aught. So when you turn the key, we should be getting all of the cranking amps and not just some of them. But I'm probably gonna mute the mic, and then time lapse all this, because once you see one done, they're all the same. And then I'll mic back up when we do the heat shrink. All right, so we got each end of every cable made up, heat shrink and crimped, and then we're going through mocking up and putting our witness marks on how the orientation of the cable needs to be. So for instance, an example would be this alternator wire, got the ground here on the block coming up. Here's this one. So then we'll crimp it, heat shrink it. Our positive for our alternator is coming around, and it actually ended up being just a little too long. So we are going to take an inch out, sheath it, and then this is the orientation for our eyelet. Same thing with the other block ground that's going to go to the frame. We got those all mocked up, ready to come off and get crimped and put together. So I'll take these cables off, I'll get you set up on the tripod, and then you'll see how I crimp them and heat shrink them using the Harbor Freight Pittsburgh. So this is a single aught, but I have it wallered out to a double aught. So we'll get you set up and see how it is. All right, now that we have them all mocked up, we got our witness mark for the orientation of how the cable's got to route. Hydraulic crimper, you can get these Amazon, Harbor Freight. Most of them are all the same. So you saw that I have to smash the shit out of the wire to get it in there because it's that tight. So with the orientation on the bell on the back, that's why I crimp, because as it smashes down, it is mushrooming the copper on the inside. So with it crimped right here, it's got a big knot on the end, so it's not going to pull through. And I run it to the max on every time. And then this is what it looks like. So you still got maybe 3/32 of that bell of the flare. I don't have another one out of here. But the cable's all mushroomed up out here from being squished down, so you could probably hook this up to a truck and you're not going to pull it out. Then we get our heat shrink. Some people use a heat gun. I like using a torch. One thing about using a heat gun is I always end up touching a heat gun after I put it down. And I always forget that it's hot. A torch, at least it stands up on its own, and I always assume the business end is always hot. And that's it. So I'll time lapse through the rest of these. I swear I can talk normal until I hit record. But comment, let me know what you think. Yes, custom cables are expensive because the cost of material and the time that it takes. So don't just go to O'Reilly's or AutoZone and think the shit that they got is gonna get you what you need without making custom cables. And here we are with all of our finished cables. We'll get them all installed on the truck. Nice, heavy duty Should be no voltage or amperage drop anywhere. Double aught battery cables for power and ground for the alternator. And frame and chassis grounds are all made, installed. Got our wire going to the starter. It'll get tied up once we get our starter installed. Got our junction block wired up. Now we just got to tie in our relays for our fuse blocks down here. But this will conclude our battery cables. Like, subscribe, follow along. Check it out.